Hello everyone, welcome to the Hollylolly channel. Japan often seems like a perfect country, cleanliness, politeness, order. But even the Japanese themselves sometimes stage a kind of quiet rebellion against their own system. Today we'll talk about the things that Japan doesn't like about itself, the issues that annoy not tourists, but the very people who were born and raised here. And in the second part of the video, we'll discuss why the residents of Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka are so different, and what the true essence of each city is. So before we begin, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. What causes dissatisfaction among the Japanese themselves? First, excessive formalism and bureaucracy. In Japan, bureaucratic procedures are often seen as unnecessary, complicated, and outdated. For example, many documents still require a personal seal, called hanko, even in cases where a digital signature could easily simplify the process. This applies not only to government institutions, but also to private companies. Moreover, Japanese bureaucracy is known for its slowness and reluctance to adapt to modern technologies. Many processes still require paper forms and in-person visits, which frustrates citizens, especially younger people who are used to digital solutions. An interesting example of protest against the system happened in May 2018 in Okayama. Bus drivers, demanding higher wages, organized what was called a free strike. They continued transporting passengers but refused to collect fares. In this way, they expressed dissatisfaction with management without causing inconvenience to commuters. Second, the pressure of collectivism. Japanese society is traditionally oriented toward collectivism, which manifests in the pursuit of harmony and the avoidance of conflict. However, this also creates pressure on the individual, who is expected to conform to group norms and expectations. For instance, in the workplace, employees often stay late even after finishing their tasks, just to avoid standing out from colleagues. There is also a common belief that expressing one's own opinion, especially if it differs from the majority, can be seen as disrupting harmony. This pressure starts in school, where students are taught to act in the interests of the group rather than individually. Such a culture can cause stress and a sense of suppression in those who prefer a more individualistic approach. Third, the lack of spontaneity and directness. Japanese culture values restraint and the avoidance of direct refusals. Instead of saying no, people often say they'll think about it or that it might be difficult. This can lead to misunderstandings. Such an approach makes communication harder, especially with foreigners or between people from different regions of Japan. In addition, the strong preference for predictability and planning makes spontaneous actions rare, which some see as a restriction of personal freedom. The lack of directness and spontaneity also shows up in social life. Invitations to events are usually made far in advance, and unexpected visits are considered inappropriate. Fourth, superficial communication. In Japan, everyday conversations are often limited to standard phrases like "it's hot today" or "how are you?" This style of interaction can seem shallow and insincere. Many Japanese people note that they miss deeper, more meaningful conversations, especially in the workplace, where communication is often reduced to formalities. This can create a feeling of alienation and a lack of emotional connection between colleagues. Finally, long working hours and a culture of performative busyness. Japanese work culture is notorious for its devotion to the company and excessively long working hours. Employees often stay late at the office, not because they have work left to do, but so they don't stand out from their peers. This phenomenon is known as karoshi, death from overwork. Statistics show that in Japan, some people literally die from overwork, which shows how serious the problem is. Governments and companies are taking steps to reduce the burden, but the culture of overwork remains deeply ingrained. The healthcare system is another issue. Although Japanese medicine is considered one of the best in the world, patients often face long waiting times for appointments, especially with narrow specialists such as dermatologists. Treatment is often very standardized. Doctors give similar prescriptions to many patients without always considering individual needs. This creates dissatisfaction among those who expect more personalized care. Another problem is the reliance on cash and old approaches to payment. Despite technological development, Japan remains a society where cash is widely used. Many stores and restaurants still do not accept contactless cards, which causes inconvenience for both residents and tourists. Although the use of electronic payments has increased in recent years, the shift to a cashless economy remains slow. Renting housing in Japan is also a challenge, even for locals. The process involves many formalities. Tenants must find a guarantor, pay several types of fees, including a deposit, key money, and agency commission, and sign lengthy paper contracts. At the same time, landlords prefer certain categories of tenants. Young people, freelancers, and divorced individuals often face difficulties, as landlords may doubt their reliability. Foreigners, particularly those who do not speak Japanese, may be refused without explanation. Tourism is another source of discontent. Japan attracts large numbers of visitors, but residents often feel overwhelmed by the crowds. In Kyoto, for example, locals complain that they cannot easily enter their favorite cafes, shop, or walk peacefully through neighborhoods that were once quiet. Some schools have even restricted students from using certain streets because they are overcrowded with tourists. On social media, people sometimes joke that Kyoto resembles an international airport more than a historic city. When it comes to the people, many think of the Japanese as one and the same, but in reality, Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka feel like three very different countries, each with its own temperament and energy. This explains why in one city people look at you strictly, in another they ignore you, and in a third they begin speaking to you as if you were long acquainted. Tokyo represents not only the capital of Japan, but also a symbol of modernity, order, and high standards. Its residents are often described as reserved, polite, and rule-oriented. They value punctuality, education, and professionalism. At the same time, they may appear somewhat cold, keeping their distance and adhering closely to schedules. Outsiders are treated with caution, and many consider Tokyo the center of civilization. The perception of coldness is explained by several factors. Cultural norms emphasize adherence to established patterns of behavior, particularly in public settings, which fosters formality and restraint. Social expectations discourage people from standing out or openly expressing emotions, as losing face or disrupting harmony is considered unacceptable. Finally, life in a large metropolis with millions of residents naturally encourages people to maintain distance in order to protect personal space. Now we can move on to how residents of Tokyo perceive other regions. Residents of Tokyo may see themselves as representatives of the center of civilization, which sometimes creates a certain distance in their attitude toward other regions. Kyoto, for example, despite its historical significance as the ancient capital, can be viewed by Tokyoites as more traditional and less modern. People from Osaka, on the other hand, are known for their openness and liveliness, which contrasts with the restraint of Tokyo. This sometimes leads to misunderstandings and stereotypes between the residents of these cities. Tokyoites reflect the metropolis in which they live, organized, reserved, and rule-oriented. Their behavior is shaped by cultural norms and the demands of big city life. Understanding these traits helps in building better communication and finding common ground with the people of Tokyo. Now, let's look at Kyoto. Here, politeness often has a double meaning. Locals smile, but may be quietly judgmental. They are more closed off, difficult to approach socially, and often complain about noise and the behavior of visitors, especially those from Osaka. Kyoto is the cultural heart of Japan. It was the country's capital for more than 1,000 years, beginning in 794. This long period established the city as a center of culture, art, and tradition. Residents of Kyoto take pride in their history and cultural heritage, which shapes their behavior and attitude toward other regions. Communication in Kyoto is often marked by the concepts of omote, the outer face, and ura, the true face. People tend to express their thoughts and feelings indirectly, preferring courtesy and restraint over bluntness. This has historical roots. In a city full of influential people, it was important to maintain harmony and avoid open conflict. A classic example of such indirect communication is the phrase, "Would you like some tea?" which may actually mean it is time to leave. This delicate social game requires reading between the lines. To outsiders, however, such behavior can seem two-faced, especially to those unaccustomed to such nuances. As for their view of other regions, Kyoto residents, particularly older generations, may treat people from other prefectures with a degree of condescension. This attitude stems from Kyoto's historical status as a capital and cultural center. In the past, people living in central Kyoto sometimes believed that areas outside their district were not real Kyoto. Younger generations are less likely to think this way, but certain stereotypes still remain. In short, people of Kyoto are marked by politeness, restraint, and a strong attachment to tradition. Their style of communication and outlook toward others have been shaped by the city's rich history. Understanding these traits makes it easier to connect with them. And now, let us turn to Osaka and its people. They are loud, open, and fond of jokes, far less formal and quicker to make contact. People in Osaka see Tokyoites as arrogant and regard Kyoto with a kind of playful mockery. Bargaining is common here, even in shops. The people of Osaka are among the most vibrant vibrant and approachable in Japan. They are distinguished by friendliness, humor, and spontaneity, which stand in stark contrast to the more reserved manners of Tokyo and Kyoto. Why are Osaka's people so open and lively? Historically, the city was a major commercial hub, where interaction with different kinds of people was a daily reality. This fostered a culture of communication rooted in openness and trust. Osaka residents value sincerity and straightforwardness, which is reflected in their behavior and speech. Humor is also an integral part of their identity. Osaka is considered the comedy capital of Japan, the birthplace of manzai, a form of stand-up comedy based on quick-witted dialogue. The Kansai dialect, spoken in Osaka, is often associated with comedy shows, which makes Osaka humor popular throughout the country. People even say that true humor exists only in Osaka, while jokes in the rest of Japan fall flat. Trade and bargaining are another defining feature of the city. As a historical center of commerce, Osaka has long been associated with negotiation skills and the art of making deals, something that continues to shape the character of its people today. In Osaka's markets, and even in some shops, it is common to negotiate prices, which is part of the local culture. This differs from the more formal approach to shopping found in other regions of Japan. As for their view of others, Osaka residents often see Tokyoites as overly formal and restrained, while people from Kyoto are regarded as excessively refined and secretive. This perspective fosters a certain sense of pride and even superiority, as people in Osaka value their openness and consider it one of their greatest strengths. To sum up, the people of Osaka are a vivid example of how the historical and cultural features of a region shape the character and behavior of its residents. Their openness, humor, and ability to connect easily with others make Osaka stand out as a truly unique place in Japan. This kaleidoscope of personalities and contrasts exists within a single country. Japan is an extraordinary land where each prefecture feels like a separate world, and Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka embody three entirely different temperaments: the reserved capital, the refined historic heart, and the warm, humorous soul. Sometimes even the Japanese themselves don't fully understand each other, but it is precisely this diversity that makes the country so vibrant, multifaceted, and real. Thank you for watching this video until the end. If you found it interesting, please give it a like, share in the comments which city feels closest to your heart, and of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new episodes. Thanks again, and see you in the next videos. Bye!